All right, let's talk about AI agents. In the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a quick, no-nonsense briefing designed for leaders. We're going to cut right through all the noise and get to what you actually need to know, what they are, why they're such a big deal, and most importantly, how you can start thinking about bringing them into your organization.
So I want you to think about something for a second. Ask yourself this: is the software your company uses just following orders, or is it actually pursuing goals? That question right there is the key to understanding this huge shift we're seeing. It's the jump from basic automation to these new, truly autonomous systems we call AI agents.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll cover what these agents actually are. Then, we'll look at how they're changing the workplace, and we'll wrap up with a framework for how you can govern them. Simple as that.
All right, first up, what exactly are we talking about here? Because before you can leverage this stuff, you got to understand it. And let me tell you, it's a huge leap from the chatbots that you're probably already familiar with.
This really breaks it down nicely. Think about it. Traditional chatbots are purely reactive, right? You type in a question, you get an answer. That's it. But AI agents, they're proactive. You don't give them a single prompt. You give them a long-term goal. And then, on their own, they figure out a plan, they reason, they adapt, and they even use other tools to get that job done. It's really the difference between a simple question and answer machine and a genuine digital assistant that works for you.
So if you need a solid definition to take back to your team, here it is. An AI agent is a piece of software that can, all by itself, go after goals for you. It understands its environment, it makes decisions, and it takes action, all without you having to hold its hand every step of the way.
Okay, but how do they do all that? What's the magic behind it? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine that makes all this autonomy possible.
Well, at the core of every single one of these agents is its brain. And that brain is usually a really advanced AI model, like a large language model. But don't just think of it as something that writes text. No. This thing is the central command. It's what allows the agent to think, to reason, and to string together a bunch of complex actions. A better way to think about it isn't as a calculator, but more like a strategy consultant that's constantly connecting the dots. And this brain is always working, running in a continuous loop. Here's how it goes. First, it gets a big goal and it breaks it down into a plan with smaller, manageable steps. Next, it taps into its memory, both what's happening right now and what it's learned in the past, to decide what to do. And finally, it uses tools. It can access the internet, check your calendar, or pull from a database to actually do something. And the amazing part is that it's a loop. It just keeps running that cycle over and over, learning and adjusting until that big goal is finally complete.
Okay, so that's the what. Now for the really important part, the so what. We know how it works, but what does this actually mean for the workplace? What's the real business impact here?
And if you're wondering how quickly this is all happening, just look at this number, 82%. That's how many organizations are already planning to bring AI agents into their workflows. So this isn't some far-off futuristic idea. The shift is happening right now, and it's setting a whole new bar for what it means to be competitive.
So where are we seeing this play out in the real world? Well, these agents are basically becoming digital coworkers. Think about it. They're handling automated customer support, they're summarizing incredibly dense legal documents, they're automating IT and system tasks, and even drafting complex reports by pulling info from all over the place. They're not just tools. They are becoming genuine force multipliers for your teams. Which brings us to the big question for every leader in the room, the now what? When you have a technology with this much power and this much autonomy, how in the world do you balance the incredible opportunity with the very real need for control and managing risk?
Well, the experts are pretty much all in agreement on this, and this quote really nails it. Letting these things run completely wild with unchecked autonomy is just a huge risk. They can still hallucinate, make things up, or just make simple logic errors. That's why keeping a human in the loop isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. You need someone there to catch those mistakes before they do real damage.
And those risks are pretty serious. It's not just about hallucinations. You've got to think about the security side of things. What happens when an agent is connected to your critical systems? What about hidden biases in the data that these models might just amplify? And then there's the whole transparency and accountability problem. If you don't know how it made a decision, who's responsible when it goes wrong? Okay, so with all that in mind, let's walk through a clear, practical framework for how you can start bringing this technology into your organization, but do it in a responsible and effective way. But before we get to the steps, I really want you to understand why you need a framework in the first place. The average transparency score for AI companies is just 40 out of 100. That's not great.
It means you can't just trust the vendors to have your back. Building your own strong internal governance isn't a nice to have. It's an absolute must.
So a smart rollout follows a few clear phases. Don't just flip a switch. First, you start small. Pilot these agents in places where a human is reviewing and signing off on everything they do. Second, you have to be relentless about safety testing. Check for errors, for bias, for security flaws. Then, and only when you've proven they're reliable, do you start to slowly give them more autonomy. And last but not least, and this might be the most important step, you have to train your people. You need to upskill your workforce so they know how to work alongside these new digital teammates.
So let's end right where we started, with a question. Agentic AI is not science fiction anymore. It's here, right now, and it is fundamentally changing how business gets done. The technology is ready. We have frameworks for how to adopt it responsibly. So really, there's only one question left to ask. Is your organization ready to lead?